Hi, good evening, guys. Hello, everyone. Hi, Gaurav. Welcome to this daily practice session. And today, of course, we are going to study about more about English, right? The verbal part of your IPMATs, right? Hi, Om. I hope you have been practicing well. I hope everything is doing good, going great, right? Hi, Puneet. Good evening, everyone. Okay, fine. So today we'll start with something light. Okay, let's see what happens with that, and then we'll move ahead towards a difficult course, right? A main course kind of a thing or something like that, right? बाकी अभी practice कैसी चल रही है, guys? How is it going? I hope you are doing pretty well. You're getting those questions. There is no problem with those questions. I'll just remove the specs. So let's move on. Let's see. Good evening. Chess is my god. Okay, so the first question out here, it's a fill in the blanks, right? Which is basically a pattern of your Indore, Rohtak, as well as Jammu. Okay, so let's see what we can do with this. As you can see, of course, the question is more or less based on vocabulary. So maybe you know the meaning of the words and you can find out, or you can use some kind of, you know, some a kind of smart guess and get the right answer. Let's see what you can do. Any answers? Okay. Chess is my god says renege. Then Puneet says A, that is countenance, I believe. And Shonin says C. Fine. What made you come across with this answer? Do you know the meaning of all the words? Let's see. Let me just give you the words and let's see what you do with that. Okay? So countenance means you are basically going to accept something, right? Going to accept, right? Or agree something, right? What does brook mean? Brook means to tolerate slash, what else it can be? To tolerate or to accept, right? Or to allow something. Renege means to go back on a promise, right? When I go back on a promise, right? And abjure means to refuse, or like not exactly refuse, to renounce, we can say, right? Renounce, or we can say give up a belief, fine. So there was a belief or something, a system, and you renounced it, fine. Keeping all this in mind, tell me what should have been your answer. Puneet says to agree, support, something like that. So okay, fine, I'll take that. Broccoli says a, hi broccoli. Shannon, but the blank has to be what? Has to be verb. Okay. And a is noun. Okay, fine, Shannon, let's see. Countenance, brook, renege, and abjure, right? So out here, many a time you see that a word which is a noun can also act as a verb, right? There are so many words, right? So if there is run, run can be a noun as well as a verb. Then we have got race, fine, walk, fine. So similarly, countenance can also be a verb. But more than that, let's have a thought process. The board of directors is expected to dash the CEO's proposal for the upcoming merger during the quarterly review. Fine. There is nothing that is given across where we know that the board of directors is going to go against the CEO, right? So in that case, the general notion would be, if it is board of directors and they are going, a CEO is going to give the proposal. So we expect that board of directors would agree to it, right? And therefore, let's see, brook means to tolerate, to allow. Now allow is there, but then again, tolerate is almost like something wrong is happening and you are tolerating that, right? So therefore, this part will not definitely not work for us, right? The next part says renege, which means to go back on a promise. Again, we don't have any thought process about whether a promise has been made or not, right? So similarly, renege cannot be my answer. B, brook cannot be my answer. D part says to renounce, give up a belief. So they have not expected to renounce. You renounce something when you have something, you know, a luxury or something like that. We are not being told anything about that. So by default, your answer should go to countenance. Understood? Uh, okay. Shonen, have you understood? Fine, guys. So the first question, what is the right answer? The right answer is going to be A, countenance. Let's go to the next one. Let's try this out. The legal team attempted to dash the testimony of the witness by highlighting several inconsistencies in her previous statements. Okay, we have got B, we have got vindicate, then we have got another B. Fine. Chess, tell me why did you take vindicate? Om says B. Fine. Om, you didn't answer the previous one, right? Hmm. Right. Fine. So let's see whether your answer is correct or not. So the legal team attempted to dash the testimony of the witness by highlighting several inconsistencies. Okay, so what is the keyword that tells me uh, that can tell me about the tone that is being used for the by the legal team for the ladies or the witness? What is the keyword out here that we must look into? The keyword out here is inconsistencies in her previous statements, right? Which clearly means that the legal team is trying to what? Are they going to agree with her statement or they are going to go against it? So definitely it is going against, right? Very good, Om. Yes, yes, very good, guys. Fine. So therefore, this is basically talking about something to do with going against it. So let's see. When I say vindicate, what does it mean, vindicate? Vindicate is to free someone of all charges, right? Whatever charges were there against the person, you free the person, right? You drop the case against the person. So in that case, if that would have been a case, I would have never said the word inconsistencies, right? So D part goes away, right? When I say corroborate, so corroborate is basically I confirm, right? I confirm with someone's thought process, right? Whatever the person has said or done, I would say I corroborate. If I corroborate, then I am actually confirming and supporting that part, right? Supporting that part. Are they supporting her? No, definitely not. They are not supporting her. Again, A part goes away. Ever is to state the case, right? And impugn is to, I would say, to question. In what sense? So if it is to question, it can also mean to doubt, right? So keeping that in mind, which one would be a better answer? It cannot be C, because they are not just stating the case, they are actually questioning the witness, right? And therefore, B is the right answer. Very good, guys. I hope Chess is My God has understood. Let's move ahead. After years of civil unrest, the local authorities were finally able to dash the rebellion and restore a semblance of order. Om, you say B. Is this what you're saying? B. Let's see. After years of civil unrest, so there was civil unrest out there. Something negative was happening out there, right? And then we have got the local authorities. So we are talking about the authorities, the government, the ruling party, something like that, were finally able to dash the rebellion. So something happened to the rebellion and restore a semblance of order. So which means restore the order. Forget about semblance for some time, right? Restore order. So if they have restored the order, what does it mean? What happened to the rebellion? Because if there is a rebellion, definitely there cannot be an order out there, right? So which means something happened to the rebellion. What did they do? Right? Okay, fine. So let's see. The first part, foment, means something which is um, it's almost like instigating, right? Uh, to bring about violent events, actions, right? Something like that. Aggrandize. Look at this. The word grand, grand. So to make someone, something very powerful. Okay. I hope you are writing all these words because they are quite important and you might see them in your paper as well. So, of course, these questions are important for you because you need to write down these words with you, the vocabulary power increases and everything, right? Instigate is almost like foment, right? Generally, always remember instigate or foment, they are for the negative things, right? Negative actions. And quash means to close down, shut down, shut down. Okay. Um, close, neutralize, all that kind of word, right? Now look at this and tell me, what as per you can your meaning be, your answer be? Can you? Of course, there is only one option, that they are going to dash the rebellion. What? Violent events, bringing about violent events, is it? Or to make someone very powerful? If I make the rebellion more powerful, what would happen? Of course, the order will never be restored, right? Instigate means what? Again, a negative action. It is coming out as some violent action, some negative action. So, of course, A, B, C, none of them work. But if I say we're able to shut down the rebellion, close the rebellion, or neutralize the rebellion, right? So, in that case, yes, definitely the order can be restored, and the answer, therefore, is D, right? Fine. Om, I believe you have understood. Fine. Let's go to the next question. Despite the heavy sanctions, the rogue state continued to dash its nuclear program in defiance of international law. Fine, Puneet has given his answer. Okay, he has not. Okay, let's see how many answers we have. A, B, C. Okay, so many answers. Which one would I go for? If you look at it carefully, the most important part out here is going to be your elimination, right? So let's see. Despite the heavy sanctions, so there were plenty of sanctions, okay? Sanctions is like obstructions, limitations, restrictions, right? The rogue state, which means the state which was up to no good, continued to do whatever they did, okay? Continue to dash its nuclear program in defiance of international law, right? In defiance. So they were just against, they were defying everyone, right? Not listening to anyone. So what is curtail in that thing. Does it mean the same thing? What does curtail stand for? Curtail generally means to reduce something, right? Okay, to reduce um, maybe the extent to which they are going to, or the degree, right? Fine, or the quantity. So when I curtail something, which means we are reducing whatever we are doing. Fine, but did they curtail? Of course not, because they continued doing so. So A part is wrong, cannot be curtail. Prorogue is actually a jargon, right? Used generally for parliament, right? When there is, um, you see, like maybe a session is discontinued without um, dissolution. Okay, so they have not made any kind of dissolution in that, right? They simply discontinue that, just like that. Fine. In that case, it will always be taken as prorogue. Now, prosecute is generally, the prosecutor and everything, right? Yes, someone who is against someone and all that. We understand that. But out here, what am I talking about? Is it actually talking about that only? So, prosecute also means, because prosecution, right, can also mean that um, to carry, to carry on slash continue. Okay, to continue something. Okay, and last part is desist, which means to, again, desist is basically to stop, to give up, right? Avoid, and so on. Right, so which one would it be? Continue to avoid its nuclear program? No, it cannot be. It did not give up. It was actually going on with the program, right? Prosecute, to carry on, continue. It can be, yes. Prorogue, definitely not working out here. So B part goes away. The only answer which is possible is C. Fine. So, curtain can mean to hide, sir. Yes, it can also mean to hide. So, continue to hide its nuclear program in defiance of. If it is in defiance, how can it hide its uh, the nuclear program, right? You would actually show it to the world that yes, I'm still going on with it. What can you do? है ना वैसे वाली बात. Okay, fine. So, what is the right answer? The right answer is C. Fine. Arshdeep, I hope you have understood. Yes, Drizzle, the answer is C. Very good. Fine. Let's move on. Let's go to the next one. Okay. So we just did 4 questions. How many of you actually got 4 on 4? We also saw that these questions were majorly based on vocabulary, which means that at the end of the day, either way, there are going to be 2 parts to it. A part is either you know the meanings, or you become smart at eliminating, right? Fine. So this is the thought process you have to have, right? Anyone out here who actually got 4 on 4? So I would say like it's either going to be, your score should remain somewhere around, like it should be 4 on 4, or it should be 3 on 3, 2 on 2, right? This is the kind of score I want, which means 100% accuracy has to be maintained. Okay, fine. Let's go to the next type of questions. Here. Okay, fine. That was quick. Let's see. Historical records suggest that the monarch would often dash his advisors, preferring the counsel of his personal guard. Now, if you look at it carefully, everything is coming across with aside, right? The common particle out here is aside. All you have to do is understand which one would be the option, right? So, what does it mean? So, first is set aside. When I say set aside, I set aside some money for uh, someone's marriage. Fine. Fathers generally set aside money for their daughters' marriages. So, which means like they are saving. Okay, keep them aside, right? When I say brush aside, what would it mean when I say brush aside? So, this is basically to dismiss something as unimportant. Fine. Cast aside. What does it mean when I say cast aside? So, cast aside is basically when we reject something unimportant or not useful anymore. Fine. Push aside is to physically, right? Physically push someone out of the way. Okay. So these are the options. Look at it again. Tell me what do you suggest can be the answer. It says historical records suggest that monarch would often dash his advisors, preferring the counsel of his personal guard. So definitely saving is not a part of the game, right? Saving is definitely not okay. Brush aside to dismiss something as unimportant. Okay, I can take that. Cast aside is reject something unimportant or not useful anymore. Fine. D part, push aside. I'm not going to remove C. I'm not going to remove B because both of them, they almost are same, right? Last is push aside, which means to physically push out of the way, which means D part. Of course, he would not be pushing everyone away from his way, right? That is not what the sentence is aiming at, right? So D part goes away. B and C is left. What would you suggest? What do you say? The right answer will not be B. The answer will be C. Cast aside. Why am I taking cast aside? When I brush aside something, it means that I don't find it important at all, right? But out here, the word is written as often, which means were they brush aside all the time? Was it like they were always unimportant to them? Or at times they were found not to be useful anymore? Useful anymore. Therefore, the right answer goes across to C. Why? Because C says that it's something, it is rejected as unimportant or not useful anymore. But it does not mean that it was not used before or something like that, right? So cast aside will be the better answer. Guys, check this one and tell me if you have understood, because this question was quite tricky, and of course there were two answers which were very close to each other. Something which is very common in your IPMAT papers, right? Has everyone understood? The answer is going to be not B, the answer has to be C. Understood? Good. Let's go to the next one. Investors were warned that the company's projected earnings did not dash the massive overhead costs incurred during the merger. This should be an easy one. Okay, so we have got B's and D's. Fine. So first thing first, let's see what do they mean and then we'll talk about it. Fine. So the first one is allow for. What does it mean allow for? Allow for means like when you're making a calculation and you are thinking, okay, fine, this would be, we can take care of this, right? So we are actually keeping that in mind when we are making the decision, or when we are taking the decision, or when we are making the calculations, right? So allow for is almost like part of the deal, right? Something like that. Okay. Now, the fun fact is factor in is also about some facts that are kept in mind when we take decisions, right? Count on is to rely on something, right? When we rely on something or when we depend on something, then it is called as count on. Bear out means what? Bear out is basically to confirm something, agree to it, or support something. Fine. Now let's see. Okay, let's try this. Investors were warned that the company's project earnings did not dash the massive overhead costs incurred during the merger, right? So what do I do? Do I take allow for? Because of course C and D is definitely going away. A and B are left. Tell me, what would you go for? Would it be A or would it be B? If you give the answer as B, the question is going to be what? Why not A? Fine. So look at it very carefully. When I say factor in is more of something which are necessary, right? Um, when you want to start a business, so there are certain costs that you cannot do without, right? Would they be allowed for, or would they be factored in? They would always be factored in. Why? Because it has to be there, right? Without it, that factor has to be there, right? So therefore, is it that something investors were warned that companies projected earnings did not dash the massive overhead costs, fine, incurred during the merger, fine. So merger is something like, not necessarily every company will go for a merger. That means that it is not definitely a factor in, it can be allowed for, right? And therefore the better answer is A and not B. Yep. Has everyone understood? Just let me know. So what I'm trying to do is I'm trying to reach out to all the nooks and corners of IPMAT, right? And try to bring across to you those concepts, those ideas, where you can understand that, you know, आती हुई चीज़ कभी कभी गड़बड़ हो जाती है ना? Sometimes what really happens is something that seems so easy or something that seems so close, right? And you are so sure about it, but then again the answer goes wrong. Fine. So these are those kind of questions, right? Definitely, Shannon. Look at it carefully. Allow for and factor in, right? They both have the same meaning. The only difference is the usage, right? When we talk in terms of usage, what really happens is we talk about factor in. Factor in is something which is when you do a calculation or when you take a decision, factored whatever ideas or whatever facts you put in, those are going to be the necessary facts, which means it has to be there. Without it, your decision or your calculation is incomplete. In that case, it would always be factored in, right? But when I say allow for is basically like when you have made everything and then you say like, oh, we should also have a provision for this thing, right? Something which is not necessary, something which is not that significant. Significant, but not that significant. Okay. In those cases, we can come across and use allow for. Fine. Now, when you look at the sentence says investors were warned about the company's projected earnings, did not dash the massive overhead costs incurred during the merger. Okay. So this is like overhead costs are some kind of costs that happen that are not generally factored or something, that are generally allowed for. Okay, fine. Overhead, which means like something over the head, going over the head. Miscellaneous costs, maybe something they never thought of, right? So that's why it cannot be factored in, because it was not a necessary cost, but they had to allow for, right? So I hope, Shonin, you have understood that A is the right answer. Everyone, shall we move ahead? So I was going through all those IPMAT papers and saw that there are so many questions coming from your fill in the blanks, right? So there is single filler, double filler, triple filler, and then again we have got phrasal idioms, right? This is a phrasal thing basically, fine. And then again we have got vocabulary coming across. So all taken clear care of. We must understand that we have to practice a lot when it comes to fill in the blanks, right? Okay, do this question. Yep. The lead investigator refused to dash the details of the case, citing the potential for compromising the integrity of the jury. Okay, unstoppable. Do you know what does it mean when I say dish out? Gaurav says A. Broccoli says A. Shonen says C. Okay, fine. Let's see. What does it mean when I say giveaway? What does it stand for? It means to give out a secret. Okay, to give out a secret, fine, but how? Unintentionally. Unintentionally. Okay, now let's see what is part with. What do you mean when I say part with? It means to give slash share, and generally it can be used with information, right? To give or share the information. Okay, dish out is generally to serve food or some kind of criticism, right? when we criticize people, right? To criticize someone, so I would use dish out. Let on means what? Let on means to reveal, to let people know, fine, that you or one has the knowledge. Okay, knowledge of something, whatever you know. Now, keeping that in mind, now look at it and tell me what should be your answer. Broccoli says B. Om, Om, give me the answer. What would you go for? You take D. D is let on, let people know. Okay. Distribute. Is it so? Shonen, why would you do about D? Look at the sentence. Okay, okay, guys, look at it. The lead investigator refused to dash the details of the case. Right? Details of the case. Now, this one, A part says give away, to give out a secret unintentionally. Unintentionally means if it would be unintentional, how would he be, how would he refuse it, right? Because it is unintentional. So it can be there, it cannot be there, something like that. So it does not work. Give away cannot be my right answer. Okay. B part, part with to give or share the information. Now look at it. The lead investigator refused to give or share the information, right? The details of the case, right? So yes, B part I can keep. Dish out, is it a food or a criticism? Definitely not. C part goes away. Let on, is the lead investigator letting people know that he has the knowledge? No, right? So therefore, the only answer which is possible is part with. Yes, guys, that's perfect. Pretty good. Okay. So one last question for you guys quickly. अब की बार मेरे को सारा सही चाहिए. It took several hours of intense negotiation for the mediators to dash the conflicting parties to a tentative ceasefire. Hmm. Okay, fine. Many questions, many answers have come across, and majorly they are A and C. And there is only one C though. There are two C's now. Let's see. What is the question? It says it took several hours of intense negotiation for the mediators, right? And to dash the conflicting parties. Okay, fine. So they were the mediators, right? They were trying to do negotiate, cause a negotiation with themselves. No, between two different parties, right? Conflicting parties to a tentative ceasefire. Fine. Bring around, what does it mean when I say bring around? So bring around means to also bring around, fine. It means to persuade, you know, persuade someone, right, to agree, right? Okay. Win over means what? This also means to persuade, right? Win over, right? To, mm, rather, I would say to gain support by persuasion. Okay. Come across something that happens, right? Unexpectedly, fine. To happen unexpectedly. Bring about means what? To cause an event, fine. So these are the thought process. These are the options we have got: A, B, C, D. Tell me what's your answer. Now tell me what's your answer. Yes, Aniket. Yes, Om. The right answer out here has to be A. Bring round, right? To persuade someone to agree. Win over would be when they would have done it for themselves, right? Mediators are not working for themselves, right? They are not doing it for themselves. So that's why they do not need to win over anyone. So B part is gone. Come across, it was not unexpected. They were negotiating, so that's why it was unexpected, not unexpected, right? D part says bring about, which means to cause an event, but this is not an event we are trying to come across to, causing some kind of event or something. What we are talking about out here is basically bringing the people to agree, right? And that's why the better answer is bring round and not anything else. I hope everyone has understood. You are very, like, you can easily understand that how much practice we need. Fine, I'm not the one who's making you understand that. You are doing the questions and you are understanding whether you need more practice or not. Fine. So be regular about it, be more, like, practice a lot. And if you have any doubts, please do let me know so that I can help you. Fine. Drop a class at 6, right? Yes, Anurav. It would be by 6:15, I believe. I'll just take a 15-minute break and then we'll start, right? Okay. Fine. Take care, everyone. Until next time, that is tomorrow. Please do study, please do practice, and let's meet again and do some more questions like this. Fine. Take care, guys. Bye bye.